All right, what's going on, Macro Perspective peeps? Man, we are excited for this one. Today, I'm going to speak. Marcos and I are speaking with Joe Rivera. I'm actually super excited about this because we got to connect. Joe said hi to me on the curb of the Sheraton in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. Just we got to talking after a little convention. I learned what world he's in. He's going to talk about that, and we're going to kind of have a conversation today, primarily about what it takes to be like an entrepreneur, what it takes to be, next level without burning out. And when you have a mission in this world, people like Joe, you need to lean on some of these types of people that can help you go from where you are A to Z. And I'm just kind of excited to be here today. So hopefully you guys tune in, take out your notebooks, and for the Macro Perspective peeps, man, this is going to be a good one. Joe, would you mind kind of just detailing a little bit more about yourself in terms of, who you are, what you do, and what you're kind of excited about right now?
What's up, everyone? And thank you, fellas, for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it. I'm Joe Rivera. My company's with Joe Rivera, and I'm a coach and a speaker, so a keynote speaker and inspirational speaker, I like to say, and transformation coach. So what I do is I empower business owners and entrepreneurs from hitting a wall of exhaustion, lack of direction, by creating a simple roadmap to achieve ultimate fulfillment and reforge their life while creating a life that they would love.
Man, that's phenomenal. So you do a lot of keynote speaking, working with these high dynamic folks, and kind of working well into like the business owners, the entrepreneur space. Is that kind of correct there?
Yes.
Perfect. Tell us a little bit about this. I think you kind of said like your system there, the Reforge system. Break that down for us a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Reforge Academy is the name of my program. And basically, I work on three pillars, and it's perseverance, growth, and spirituality. And when I say spirituality, a lot of people kind of, people get spooked nowadays when you mention spirituality. They automatically think religion, and it's not religion. Religion and spirituality are two completely different worlds. When I'm talking religion, yeah, there's a higher power involved, and it's very important to know that you have a higher source greater than yourself that brings you to your highest level, right? To be able to reach that full potential. But it's really about also walking in and living in your purpose. And I think that's extremely important. I think it's a missing piece. There's a gap between spirituality and being able to create wealth. There's like a taboo out there. And I think it's the complete opposite. The more spirituality you have in your life and the more spiritually connected you are, the more wealth that gets created, man. It's just, it all comes together at that point.
That's great. Literally, I think I understand your stigma, or not trying to stigmatize the spirituality element, because like you just mentioned, the crazy thing there is that people will quickly tie that to religion. And even with what I'm trying to do with my nonprofit sector, I tried to not use the word faith because I felt like that would also be, quote, taboo, even though I do believe it is a big pillar in health, right? Just like you believe it's a big pillar in business. So how do you go about then bringing that to the table? Like, what do you, when you say spirituality with like your speaking and or in the class setting, like what do you then translate over for people to get out of that?
So, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's an important pillar, I believe, in all aspects of life, right? Business, your personal life, any part of your life, having that spirituality is important. And what the way it carries over is, you know, like I mentioned, it's walking and living in your purpose. And you're not going to be fully walking and living in your purpose. There's no way that someone can that creates ultimate fulfillment without that spirituality piece being there. I mean, we've seen it a million times. People who could have all the success in the world, they could have all the money, but there's something missing that creates that emptiness that they feel that there's something missing, and then able to move to the next level, or they're miserable, or they end up taking their life. I mean, look at Robin Williams, perfect example. The guy had everything, right? Had all the money and all the fame, I mean, Walker, he could have had anything he wanted at any time, right? I mean, he was Robin Williams. And what happened? Unfortunately, he took his life. Why? Because there was a piece missing. I believe that piece, when people go through that take it to that level of taking their own life, that spirituality is disconnected.
Agreed. Yeah, you're right. How many times have we heard that story, Mr. Success, and maybe it's an athlete or an icon that then struggles and loses it all, right? As if they couldn't find a deeper meaning or something to translate and transcend. Um, what's the word? The existentialism, right? They're dealing with some level of an existential crisis, and I mean, Seamus and I coaching people through the pandemic, and now even more so than ever, we're running into this same issue, similar issue. Like, oh, what's the point? Why am I doing this? Why am I going to push myself this hard with X thing? It's like, yeah, because you want to get better at something. It's fun to start to understand the world and the universe, and um, the energy that you put out is the energy that you can bring back to you, and it feels really rewarding. So I'm aligned. I feel that. I think the spirituality thing is something I've personally really had a hard time in my 20s with, and now that I'm kind of bridging into 30, um, I'm feeling more connected, more grounded, better understanding things that matter. Right? For me, it's familial. Right? Like, I actually thought about this morning on a call with my mom. She's like, it's lonely in the house because our dog just passed away. He had very aggressive cancer. Was basically went blind over the course of a week as soon as he got his diagnosis, and got me thinking. I'm like, what am I going to do when I don't have the ability to talk to my mom anymore? Like, I talk to her every morning, just shoot the breeze, talk some ideas. Um, and so I'm just trying to soak that all in so that I can have these like spiritual life lessons that she's kind of putting on to me to help move things forward. Um, but so the other two pillars, though, you said it kind of quickly and I missed it. So spirituality was the last pillar. What were the other two again?
Perseverance
Okay.
and growth.
Okay. Perseverance and growth. Um, growth, famous, right? Like, we didn't expect that. What episode is this technically? Like 30 something or just about,
30
right?
plus. Yeah, we're at 30 plus. And this is, Joe, it's so funny that whenever we have a guest on, Joe, it feels like alignment is the word. It just seems like the universe aligns you with the people. Because right now, I know Marcos right now is having like a spirituality kind of conquest, but for both of us, I know that perseverance and growth is definitely there. We've definitely had a lot of growth for 30 plus episodes, and I know you have your own show, and I know you talk. Um, but we're definitely feeling it. Like, hey, we definitely got to persevere. We're feeling like, oh, we are in the trenches because we still have to do the work as a business owner, like as an entrepreneur, like you still got to do the work with other things. You got to meet this, and then you still got to make content. You do that. So, yeah, let me ask you, how do you teach your mentees, the people that you work with, like that perseverance? What do they need to go through? Like any examples on, deep level minded thinking that they need to get through with perseverance, or like getting through some growth through perseverance? Any insights on that?
Yeah, I mean, so I believe in this world that we're living in, especially in these times, in the business you're looking to take to the next level, that life that you're looking to unlock your fullest potential.
Yeah.
You're going to face adversity along the way, and you're going to have to be able to create your own comeback game and be able to have that perseverance to be able to overcome those obstacles. So, one thing that I really dig in on is being able to help my clients get clarity on those obstacles that they need to overcome, because clarity, that's a key to success. You have to be clear on what your targets are in order to be
Mm-hmm.
able to tackle them. So, having clarity on those obstacles, digging in and really finding the why, right? Why you're doing what you do. But it's not just about figuring out the why, it's also figuring out the what. The what is just as important as the why.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand. So and we kind of build a perseverance kit with that, and with growth. It's really about, that's at the part where you start really uncovering what your limited beliefs are and values and those core values, what they are. Because once you can remove those limited beliefs, those, whether it's around money, whether it's around I'm not good enough, whether it's around I'm not ready, whatever it is, when you could uncover and be aware of what those inner blocks are, that's when you can start really uncovering where your value system is and what's really important for you to take and grow to that next level. But without finding what those inner blocks are and being aware of them and really understanding why they're there, where they come from, when they show up, what triggers them, that's when you could really start doing the work on growing and uncovering the value system and realizing what's important to you and tapping into that leader within is what I call it, to be able to know this leader within is always with me. It's always going to be here. Even when that gremlin pops up and says, you're not good enough, I'm not ready, blah, 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 blah. You gave it a smack the gremlin right in the face, stop embarrassing yourself. I'm in control, not you, but you got to be aware of those inner blocks before you could do that.
That is that is so funny. What a great point. Is that fact that like with life, with coaching and you being, a mentor to these folks and coaching them, like I'll take that analogy as like, hey, that gremlin, you smacking it when you're not feeling it. It's like almost the same thing. Like I think Marcos and I see this. It's like where a client is on a caloric deficit plan, they're trying to do a fat loss plan, right? And it's like the gremlin is like, oh no, eat those tacos, eat those, like ice cream, like, and it's like, yeah, you do gotta smack that freaking gremlin because, like you said, if you're not clear about your values and you're not clear about the what, the gremlin shows up, you're gonna bow down to that gremlin, right? You're gonna bow down to it, and you're gonna go, you win today, because life's hard. Life's hard. So that's freaking funny. Let me ask you though. Because you're kind of talking about today's society and kind of all these things in today's society with some of the folks that you're seeing, with most folks that you're hanging out with and most folks that you're teaching. What are some of the biggest limiting beliefs that you've noticed as a trend, as a pattern? I mean, for us, I think Marcos and I can say, like, with that caloric deficit plan or like a weight loss plan, it's like, yes, cravings are a big one for us. We'll always see that one as like a limiting factor for the success. What are some common ones for you in the business world, in the coaching world, in that sector, and that you see time and time again, and you're like, man, if I had $1 million for every time this came out, I'd be like a multi-billionaire by now.
Uh, Money's always a big one. I don't have money. I can't afford it. Rather than looking at forgetting about the how you're going to afford it, just going after your purpose, your vision, and realizing that how is gonna come into play. It's gonna complete itself when you're following and walking in your purpose. The money's gonna find you. There's no shortage of money out there. There's an abundance, right? We can live an abundant lifestyle if we choose to. So that's a big one. Another big one is the I'm not good enough, right? Or I'm not worthy, or however you want to word it, right? Is another one that people struggle with, and they struggle with really because people. There's a saying that's out there. I was reading it in a book. I forget exactly which book it was, but it's you don't you focus on reading other people rather than learning to read yourself as a person and learning yourself and understanding yourself and being able to love yourself. Say, I love you to yourself in the mirror. Tell yourself that you are worthy. Tell yourself you are worthy of love and respect. You know why? Because we're spiritual beings living a human experience. And that spiritual side of us was made perfect the way it is, right? It's that human experience that we're living it through, right? That makes the imperfection part of it, and that creates those limited beliefs that are built in us from when we're younger, right? So, being that we're made spiritual beings, perfect the way we are, we can remove those limited beliefs, but we got to learn how to find those blind spots so that we can remove them and be more conscious of it.
Oof.
The blind spots. That one. There's somebody who has a series on blind spots. Joe, do you know who that is by chance? I feel like that's like a similar topic I've heard quite a few times. No,
No,
nothing.
I've heard blind spots out there quite a few times also.
I actually had another one of my mentors was like, "Hey, you should go listen to this sequence of like, identifying your own personal blind spots to coach better." I mean, obviously, that's something that you're coaching other people to kind of figure out and help move them forward. And and like going back to like the perseverance thing, I think a lot of people in today's culture are too quick to give up, right? Like, isn't it like it's like that image? I can visually see it now, where there's like the guy like with a hammer right about to hit like the vein of gold, and he like is turning around the other way, right? And it's very much so like that. You kind of are in this plane of despair for a while. Again, I'm not good enough, like you mentioned. The money's not happening yet, and you're literally right about to hit that like hockey stick effect. And to overcome that, I think it goes back to what you said. It's community, it's communication, it's like-minded individuals telling you like this is going really well, and I think that this is what you can continue to lean in and lean on. You might want to remove this fluff, right? And this, like, I think younger versions of ourselves, and I'm not necessarily speaking for you, Seamus, but I think you probably can identify with this, right? Where my younger self was like, again, I'm not good enough. I don't know enough. I'm not credentialed enough. Then I realized, you know what? So what? I'm going to learn. I'm going to take my licks. Let's go talk to people and see what their perspective is. And is there a way for me to use that as influence? I mean, not steal what they have, but use it as an influence and kind of cite them, as I go along, because they're helping me get to that next step that I want to get to. Um, but I mean, I kind of view it like math, everyone's least favorite subject. They're like, man, what's the point? And I'm like, it's the foundation of everything you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
Guess what? Business is ones and zeros, right? How many do you want
that's
to
right.
make?
That's
You want to be
right.
a part of that 2 comma club? Well, guess what? You got to know math.
Yeah.
You ever
If
watch
not, you're in
Silicon
trouble,
Valley?
man.
Oh
I've watched a
man,
few episodes.
the tres like
That's
the tres.
comas.
It was like his there's a show called Silicon Valley, and he has a drink called tres comas, like a tequila, and he gets mad because he has this poster, 1 comma, 2 comma, 3 comma, and it's like a black commas, and it's like silver background. And one episode he brings the guys over that he's like put money into as an investor, and he rips one of the commas, and he goes, "This is what you've done to me. You've made me 2 commas, not tres commas."
Man,
That's so.
that's so that was like obviously us diving into like the academy. Um, is that something that's like kind of pre-recorded and pre-done for people, or is that like something that you're kind of hands-on coaching with the entire time?
So there's the Reforge Academy, right? Is my academy. In there, I have a group coaching program, which is my Dream Builder program. My VIP sessions are through one-on-one sessions that I have, and I also am working on unraveling a 6 and 12 month program. So the group coaching I have now is a 12-week program, and then the one-on-one coaching VIP is 9 weeks.
Mm.
So, okay, bunch of different angles to like bring people in, feel what's right for them. How out of curiosity, how long do people like to like stay involved with you? Like, is your goal to like foster the community and constantly be with Joe Rivera like ongoing? Do they kind of get what they need after that like 12 or 9 week experience with you?
Everybody's like a snowflake, man. Everyone's different. There's not one person that's the same. That's definitely a loaded question because for example, I have someone who I've been working with for the past 3 years, right? And then I have someone who worked with me for the complete the program, and then they kind of moved on. So it really depends on the person and what they want out of the program and what they want to get out of the situation. Do they want to continue to move forward and along the journey and be mentored for longer? Yeah. And the other thing is, I don't work. I won't work with just anyone, right? Just same way I'm not just for anyone. Not everyone's for me, also. So it kind of goes to be able to pick and choose the right people to come along the journey, because I don't want to do business with someone that I'm not going to add value. If I know I can't add value for you, if I know that there's something there that there's not a fit, that we're not aligned, then why am I going to do it? I don't need your money. You know what I mean? It's not about that. This is about really going out and adding value for your life and being able to help you take your life to the next level. And I want someone who wants that to be done for them also, with them also, you know?
Yeah. No, it's funny. Marcos and I were just talking about this. Sorry, there's a little bit of feedback there. Marcos, where's that coming from?
I think it was Joe's computer.
Oh,
But
I got it. No.
yeah, it just
I was just gonna say, Marcos and I were just talking about this, getting actually crystal clear on who we want to work with, and I think we put our finger on it. And you're right. You have to absolutely be honest with who, because I've taken on clients, Joe, and you've probably done this, where yeah, you got the money, but they were a effing headache. It was horrible
nightmares.
working with them, and it was a nightmare. And if anything, like it gave you, like, for me, I feel stress in the stomach. For me, I was like always just like, oh, about it. And I just was like, you know what? I really got to be clear, crystal clear with who I want to work with, because it doesn't benefit them. It doesn't benefit me. Yeah, sure. In our coaching industry, Marcos and I, the biggest thing we probably see now is like obesity, overweightness. And, you can coach anyone. The scientific principles are there. You can Google 8 million ways to lose weight and become better fit, right? But they're not all going to be working with Seamus and Marcos, and you got to be crystal clear about that, because the more you niche down, we've been realizing, and this, is not everyone's for everybody. Not everyone's for everybody, and they get kind of some people are like nightmares, like I said, and some people are on there, and then there's some people in the middle that you do have to play with and bring them in. I wanted to ask you, and Marcos, if you wanted to follow up with anything, I wanted to ask
Yeah.
you, what is your, other than the business entrepreneur, the business type, the folks that have, that need to figure out their guidance on their perseverance, their spirituality, or their growth, what else do you like to see in your clients? Do you do like a questionnaire and you look for like certain red flags and green flags? Like, what do you like to do when it comes to working with a certain individual? Like, what is it about the individual you're like, I can work with this person?
So I have a policy where we go through first off a discovery call. We jump on a
Mm-hmm.
call, get to know a little bit more about you, let you know a little bit more about me, let you know a little bit more about the program, find out what it is you're looking to accomplish, dig into the goals, uh, some of the values that they have that they're aware of at that moment, and really see if the coaching program is a fit for them, right? Finding out if they're open minded, somebody who's open minded, somebody who's willing, someone who's closed minded towards coaching and doesn't believe in the journey that it can do for them. If they're closed minded completely towards having transformation, then they're not going to be a good fit, right? Someone who's not willing to invest in themselves, because guess what? You're not investing in Joe Rivera. You're not investing in the program. You're investing into yourself and your life, your business, and taking your life and unlocking that fullest potential so that you could go to the next level. So if you don't believe in investing in yourself, then I mean, how are you going to believe in the process, right? How are you going to believe that it's going to work? It's but you know what? That same person that won't believe that they can invest in themselves, that they don't see the value in investing in themselves. You'll see them, with a pair of Louis Vuitton shoes and Louis Vuitton jacket, and they're broke, but they can't get to the next level because they rather buy things that they can't afford than invest into themselves or invest into making themselves better. And it's sad, but that's unfortunately that's the world we live in. There's only a certain percentage of people that are woke like that are willing to really invest in themselves and take themselves to the next level. And there's enough of them out there for us fellas to go and be able to help transform their lives. That percentage that's out there, That's enough for us to be able to go out there and make an impact. But it's the ones who don't believe, right? That we gotta kind of hope that they'll wake up some way somehow, that they have their aha moment. But it's just like, so I'm in recovery, right? And I believe that, when I went to make that change, I did it because I wanted to change, not because someone else forced me to change. People
Mm.
tried to force me to change for years and it didn't work, right? I had to be ready for that transformation. I had to go through my ups and my downs and hitting my rock bottom for me to make that change. Someone else has to be able to want to make the change in order for me to work with them. I won't work with someone who doesn't believe that they can, go through that process.
Man, you
They're not
mentioned
ready, I should say.
you mentioned recovery. Do you mind kind of sharing what it is that you're recovering from, out of curiosity?
No, that's off limits. No, I'm joking. So yeah, man. I went from rock. I went from Park Avenue to Park Bench. I was emotionally, financially, and spiritually bankrupt. I lost everything. I even almost lost my life. I had my dream job in the financial industry as a stockbroker. I was 25 years old, making seven figures a year. I thought I was on top of the world. I was working late nights at the office one evening, and someone approached me and said to me, "Hey, Joe, you think you're a top producer now? Take this little round pill, and you're going to produce even more." I was already smoking weed, drinking, or having some kind of mind altering substance in my body every single day for the past 10 years at that point. So I said, why not? And that's when I got introduced to opiates. And that's when my battle with substance abuse took off to the next level. My mom passed, and me and my mom were this close, and everything just went completely upside down. My life went dark and became completely unmanageable. I lost everything. I even almost lost my life. I overdosed twice. The last time, it took 6 cans of Narcan to bring me back to life. 6 fucking cans of Narcan. And that same night, I'm laying in the hospital bed. I wake up. I pull the EKG electrodes off my body. I leave the hospital against medical advice. And then when I get outside, the first thing I do, I go call the dealer looking for that next high. I'm out there shivering, looking like a crackhead, like Pookie from New Jack City. And the first guy I call is my dealer. Talk about feeling powerless over drugs and alcohol. Then came a weekend that changed my life forever. My sister invited me for an event. At that event, something clicked. I looked at my sister, she looked at me, and we both started crying. She knew exactly what I was going to say. And then those words came out. The words my family was waiting to hear for years. I said, I don't want to do this shit anymore. I was a shell of myself. I was tired of writing my obituary. I wanted to begin creating my legacy. After that, I made the decision to achieve sobriety. And man, best decision I ever made, man. I was emotionally, financially, like I said, spiritually bankrupt. I didn't even know what like a relationship with God was. I thought it was just saying an Our Father, Hail Mary, and asking for forgiveness when necessary. And I used to live an unmanageable life where I lacked direction, didn't finish things that I started, right? I couldn't get out of my own way. Now, I live an incredible life where I know the direction I'm going. Sorry about that, the dog.
It's all good.
So,
You weren't saying anything serious, you know.
yeah,
You
no,
weren't saying
there
anything
was no
serious.
serious moment. So, yeah, I used to live an unmanageable life, man, where I lacked direction, didn't finish things that I started. And now because I've built a reliable, repeatable system, I've been able to create wealth financially, emotionally, and spiritually. Where today, my higher power, whether you call it God, the universe, infinite intelligence, I have my higher power that I call God, and today he's my father, my brother, my mother, my uncle, my best friend, my everything. And when I put that spirituality first, it creates the path for everything else to follow and pursue me.
Man, thank you for sharing that. That was powerful. I had to write what down you said. So I'm tired of writing my obituary. I'm ready to live my legacy. God, that was powerful. I appreciate you sharing that. You know, seeing people in my life pass from addictions, and you know, working with people with addictions and things like this. And it's just it's insane how powerful it can be to destroy your life. And it sounds like you were able to you literally hit bottom. You're like on death's door, 6 cans to get back to living, and now you're doing that. And I think the biggest lesson I heard from that was like, instead of just being financially free, which you were making 7 figures annually, right? At 25 years old, right? But now you're emotionally, spiritually, familially, everything. You're living like a deep whole life. But it sounded like you had to hit that rock bottom to realize that, though. Because what I've noticed, Joe, you could speak about this, but it's like sometimes like people that are on their train of success, um, sometimes it's like it's so good that they don't see like they're destroying themselves. Was that kind of true of yourself? Like you were like being so successful, you're like, oh, nothing's gonna take me down.
Dude, I thought I had the world by the balls. I was 20 in my 20s, making all this money, traveling the world. I was taking care of my family, whatever. I was just I was doing. I thought I had it. I thought that I was unstoppable. And man, was I wrong? Because I got stopped dead in my tracks. And people always ask, like, "Damn, Joe, don't you regret going through substance abuse? Don't you regret everything that you lost?" Fuck no, man. I'm a PW a person with lived experience. I've been there, done that. I overcame it. Every day I wake up, I defy the odds. I say thank you to substance abuse for giving me the lesson that I got in life to be the person that I am today. I say thank you for substance abuse for giving me the spiritual connection I have today. I say thank you for substance abuse for taking me on this amazing journey to be able to impact people's lives. Because you know what? If it wasn't for that journey that I went on and that rock bottom that I hit, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be able to go out there and give this back because I asked for years, man. I remember after achieving sobriety, I was able to build a multi-million-dollar pre-IPO marketing company, right? And even though I was crushing it and living an amazing life, my higher power kept nudging at me and telling me that there was a bigger purpose in life, that I had that my journey wasn't complete. And that's when I decided to build my Reforge Academy program. And wow, has God been right like always, because there's no drug, no alcohol will ever give me that euphoric feeling that I get when I'm able to empower someone to transform their life and help them take their life to the next level and build a life that they would absolutely love. I mean, that right there is the gift that keeps on giving. Without going through what I went through, without hitting that rock bottom, without battling substance abuse and overcoming it, I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be given that gift back. I wouldn't get that gift that keeps on giving.
Oh man, that's so powerful, man. You know, having that realization for yourself must have been just epic. And it seems like on the roller coaster of life now, it seems like now you've gotten more control again. You're so certain, and you're so clear. It sounds like you're taking it. Um, Tell us a little bit about, not so much your business, but your lifestyle now that like
Well,
you are
one, James,
Marcos.
one
Go ahead.
second.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Like you mentioned, that person with lived experience and how a certain decision or certain decisions led to then you eventually deciding to persevere, right? I'm sure that's probably why that was one of the, tenets for you. But then it got me thinking about a moment. I was, I haven't battled with like substance abuse or things of that nature. Maybe it's because I got a reality checked really quick when I did mushrooms at like 17 years old. And but I mean, like I dealt with to this day like such a high level of anxiety that um was a result of like the decision, but it was a lived experience and something that didn't really like it didn't steer me down the wrong path even further, right? It was like that moment was the juncture at which there was like a proverbial rock bottom as it became, or as it was with drugs. And really since that day, I mean, yeah, like here and there, maybe I've smoked weed maybe a handful of times or done an edible, like literally maybe all five since then because of the way that it affected my mind. But the thing that you keep probably like keeping in your head that doesn't want you to steer back to that is the feeling probably of like no control, right? And I think that when people can gain control of understanding how to like persevere, control of their spirituality, and control of understanding that they control their growth, something that me and Seamus again had mentioned, that we feel like we're getting there and we're controlling this, and we're just trying to treat it like a runaway train, right? We're like, hey, you know what? Everybody says that you have to persevere even if the analytics aren't doing too great right in the beginning. And yeah, that resonated like kind of heavily. Like, we kind of joke about this when it comes to our clinical staff at times. Or is this person actually going to make this change? They're here in our office paying $5,000 for this initial evaluation. And as the day goes on, you wonder, is this person full of shit? They actually going to make the change, or are they, you know, like, are they really ready for that? And usually there is a rock bottom proverbially with their health, that like the big one or a big one that they nearly escaped. I'm like, that person is definitely going to get it, or that person didn't get it hard enough and they're not they're not really truly ready. They think that they are, because anything that requires change requires work, right? And a complete refabricating of your being, and it's a very difficult thing, um, where people may or may not have ever been coached, right? So this concept of then you realizing where you were headed, like obviously it shaped where you're like, I can't, like obviously can't be in the environment making this much money that allows me to then have easily accessible funds to do this thing, right? You likely pivoted, right? Was it like did you completely step away from that industry and reinvent yourself, or was there like a transition period where you were still there? Kind of curious.
So, so I lost everything. I lost my Series 7. I lost, when I almost lost my life. I had to get back into the business, reinvent myself after losing everything, and then reinvent myself again through my coaching and speaking business. So yeah, I mean, I had to reinvent myself. I had to invent myself when I was 17 or 18, right? Because we always have to create ourselves at that point in the business that we're growing whenever we're done with school. But
Hmm.
at 19 years old, I passed my Series 7. And then after failing it twice, so I already dealt with perseverance there, right? Without even knowing what perseverance was probably at that point. Um, and then I had to reinvent myself again after losing the what I thought at the time was an empire, because I was making seven figures in my 20s. I thought I was on top of the world. Little did I know it was nothing, right? But I lost all of that. I almost lost my life. I lost my mom, and I had to reinvent myself again after achieving sobriety. Because let me tell you, man, putting the drugs and alcohol down, that's the easy part. It was changing the mindset. changing the person from within, peeling the onion back and doing the work and taking stock of who I am and what my real core values were, really being able to uncover those core values and remove the character defects, remove the limited beliefs, right? And then jumping into, the pre-IPO world and a whole, it was still for the financial industry, but it was a different level of it. And I had to reinvent myself there. So yeah, I mean, I had to completely reinvent myself a few times in my life.
The the spiraling, your was your mom like mom obviously was like a huge catalyst in like the trajectory, like no, like I don't give a shit about anything anymore. Like what's the point, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
When my mom passed, I mean, it was bad. I mean, me and my mom was so close. I mean, so close. She was my best friend. I mean, I would come home from work no matter what time it was, and I would still stop at her house before I went to my house, which was a half hour away, just to see her, spend time with her, kick back with her. Like literally my best friend. And when I lost her, man, it was completely upside down. I was trying to numb that feeling for so long, and realizing. So, but again, my mom's passing, I look at as also the silver lining of that is I've learned that no matter what, it was her time to go, and her passing is what has also helped me have this spiritual connection that I have today, because now I really know what it means when they say the eternal life. Because let me tell you, there's not a day that goes by that I don't feel my mom's spirit within me. There's not a day that goes by now that I don't feel it, ever since I got sober and clean. I wasn't feeling that when I was getting high. I was numbing it. I didn't even know what it was. But now today, when I feel it, I know, oh shit, that's my mom, and being able to really have that spiritual relationship and connection has taken my life to the next level.
what advice? Yeah, sorry, the echo. What advice would you give somebody that may maybe losing a loved one and or just lost one, and how to overcome that? I mean, it's probably guilt, right? Guilt and grief all in one, all the dang emotions, and also for somebody that again currently has their parents and they maybe have a close connection. Like you mentioned, overcoming that, the spirituality element is that when you're numb, you don't feel it. So you're no longer numb, so that you can make sure you can feel that tie and that tether to, that important piece to your life. But like, what advice, like how did you overcome that? What advice would you give somebody to overcome it? Because I feel like maybe there's something there that people can like lean into. I mean, I know I'm scared shitless of the idea of losing my parents, right? And shoot, I mean, even just losing the dog the last week, right? It impacted my parents because it was their dog. I've since moved out of my parents' house. Thank the Lord, right? Um, but literally today, I dropped off a package to their house, and I opened the door, and I made a maneuver as if the dog was going to be there, like subconsciously thinking he was going to like knock me over because it was a 120-pound Rottweiler. And then it hit me. I was like, oh shit, like he's gone. And I was like, oh, this is the feeling my mom just mentioned to me this morning. It's empty. The house is
Mm.
empty. I'm feeling empty. And like I had that moment. I'm like, oh, that's what my parents are feeling right now. So what would you say? Like, what do you do? What do you think about? Are there like words of affirmation? What is it? What is that tether?
Man, build a relationship with that higher source, that higher power is number one and most important. You call it God, the universe, infinite intelligence, whatever it is. Build that relationship, because that's through that relationship is where you're going to be able to feel that person, whoever you lose, is spirit. You're going to feel it through that connection. That's where it starts. That's where it begins. That's the most important piece that I could say. And also something else you mentioned earlier, Marcos. You were saying how community, communication, and you all who you surround yourself with. I'm gonna call that the three C's, right? Communication, community, and the core group that you hang out with, or the people you surround yourself with, right? So those are the three C's. Make sure that you hang on tight to those three C's. Communicate your feelings. It's so important to be able to talk how you're feeling about that person that you lost. Build a community. Go somewhere where there's other people around you who have also gone through that same experience. People that you could talk to that could understand where you're coming from. And then make sure that you are with people from your core group, because I'm a big believer in you are who you surround yourself with. And my family had a saying when I was growing up: dime con quien andes y te digo quién eres. Right? Marcos, you know what that is, right?
I don't
Tell me.
actually speak Spanish. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All right. So, man, with the last name Rivera. So
Hey,
tell.
I didn't live by my Puerto Rican grandparents. I'm sorry. I know I'm a poor Puerto Rican.
So tell me who you walk with, and I'm going to tell you who you are. And it's so real, right? And I didn't really understand it when I was growing up, but as I learned what it really means as I got older, I'm like, holy shit! Of course that makes sense, because you are who you surround yourself with, right? And if you surround yourself with people who are overcoming adversity, people who inspire you, then guess what? You're going to be able to overcome adversity. You're going to be able to always be inspired to do more with your life. So that's what got me through, the loss of my mom. I mean, I thank God I had a good support group. I have a family that loves me, and siblings and aunts and uncles and my grandmother. But it wasn't just that. It was also the people that I connected with outside of that also went through similar situations that I went through, so that I could be able to learn from their experience as well.
That's yeah, gold. I mean, it just knocked out of the park with that. Like again, the three C's, and I mean, you mentioned that who you surround yourself with, the community vibe, and literally what me and Seamus were on the phone right before getting on this talking about was that identity of the core group of people that we can most significantly impact because we are also that person, right? And again, I'm never going to be on the stage talking about my um, overcoming of a drug obstacle. I hope. I mean, right? I really, I don't want to say that that can happen. But it's like you said, when you are ready to overcome that hurdle, you are officially ready. My dad's basically 2 years sober. Basically when he turns 66, he'll be right there. He made that decision after 40 years of, we'll call it alcohol abuse. Not that he was abusive, but abused the substance and basically could go a whole day and then go home and drink a 12-pack every night, get up, repeat. And all it took was his grandkids and my mom making a comment, "Hey, you will never be able to be alone with this. Your your daughter-in-law and your son are not going to trust you because you can't get your act together." And that was all it took. Boom. All right. Now his new vice is eating sugar, right? We're working on things, right? Well, sometimes you have to replace a bad habit with something else. We get that. But then he got another thing that came in and told him something else. So, I mean, we're always growing, and as we grow and we make these little tweaks and changes, something else happens. I call it the quarterly change because literally every quarter I feel like something new happens, and dealing with kids, that's generally true. And yeah, that core thing, right? And that's where again we're so excited because we have things that we're working on, right, Seamus, that
So
help us
many things in the
identify
pipeline.
so many things, and we're excited to talk about, like, we know that we resonate with ex-athletes, right? We know that lifestyle. We know the issues that they are currently dealing with as a result of maybe not having that core group of people anymore. And we're like, you know what? We're going to go after those people because, again, like you mentioned, we're not the right fit for everybody, but we're generally a right fit for those people that have lost that athlete identity.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people have probably played some level of sport, whether it's at a high level or at a low level. If you have that athlete moniker at some point in your life and you identified as a particular player of a game or a sport, guess what? It may have been a past life, but it's still a part of you, right? And it's a really powerful one because no one wants to be an ex-athlete. They still want to be athletic, right? So
Yeah.
you mentioned
Yeah.
that, and we're like, boom, we are working on this exact thing. These people, and yeah. So when you said
It's
that,
it's
I had to
so
let you know. Yeah.
it's so funny, Joe. Right now, Marcos and I are in a 12-month cohort, basically, to take on 2 certifications. I know we talked about certifications and stuff um, and I don't think the certifications per se are like to quantify myself as like, I'm going to become a better coach because of this, like, or like I need it because like it's going to help me move to the next thing. No, just I always like to, like you said, reinvent, get coached up myself, be mentored. And one of the things that part of our class yesterday, they asked was what like what is that destination postcard, right? Like who are you working with, and like what do you want to do? And when you get clear about like your goals, it's kind of like all these things start managing and manifesting. And that's exactly like what we were talking about with Marcos, is like when we're trying to really manifest a community. And it's interesting how in life, like when you have that moment, and one of the moments in that class that like they asked another question was like, how do you know that you're making it, or what is a measure of progress that is telling you like, hey, you're making it? I feel like every time, Marcos, we have a podcast with someone, I'm like, I feel like we're making it because life is always aligning with
Mm-hmm.
the ideas that we have. And then
Oh yeah.
the person as the guest is like confirming it, like, oh, Joe's confirming, have a community, have a core group, have that thing. So it's like that destination postcard, who we are. Oh, this is how you make the progress. Oh, and like we can tick that off, like having Joe like tell us, hey, it's confirming that bias. So it's really cool. Joe, I do want to I do I mean, I really appreciate all these words you've. I feel like there's freaking nuggets and gold in here, but I do want to be mindful of your time. We're coming up on an hour, but I do want to ask you, kind of going back to what I was saying, what are some big performance metrics that you see with the people that you mentor, that you coach, that you go, okay, in this 12 weeks, in this 9 months, in this 3 years of being your mentor, your coach, I know you're progressing. How would you know that someone is progressing to like that destination postcard, or what progress markers can they tell that like I am making it? I am making it in my spirituality. I am making it in my finances. I am making it in my emotion. I'm making it in my community. Like how do you quantify that?
Yeah, so first off, keeping progress is important, right? Making sure that we're celebrating their wins is enormous. I don't care how small the win is. It's got to be celebrated and noticed, because it's part of the program, and a big part of coaching, and I believe is accountability, right? So making sure that I'm able to hold them accountable so that they could see where that growth is. They see that they're growing, or they know where those blind spots are, where they need to work on more growth. So that's one very important way is making sure that we keep note of the progress, celebrating those wins, and also, being able to help them uncover what their purpose is. And when you see someone walking and living in their purpose, I mean, it's so obvious. So I mean, the shining lights all over them, and you see it. So you see the glow as they're growing and as they're going towards that purpose. And again, that's the gift that keeps on giving, right? Is being able to see someone who was stuck with, let's just say, someone who was stuck at a certain weight and they couldn't get past that weight for years. And then next thing you know, they're at the gym 6 times a week. They're eating cleaner than they've ever cleaned. They're at the lowest weight they've ever been at, right? I mean, that's a moment right there to be proud of, right? That's a moment where you're like, oh shit, I did my job. I see that this person is growing to that next level, right? When somebody's stuck at a certain amount of money that they've been making, right? Let's say someone's been making a 1.5 per year, and then the next thing you know, they're like, shit, I'm stuck at this 1.5. I can't get past this hump. It's been 5 years, and I want to get to 5 million. And then next thing you know, you see them slowly progress. After 6 months, a year from now, then they're making 1.7. Then they're making then they're making 2 million. Then they're making 2.2. So you're keeping progress of that growth along the way. Same thing with somebody that struggles with relationships. You know, you get them and you start seeing them go out and build more relationships, and they're building relationships within their personal life, within their business life, and you see that progress growing. So there's so many different ways to track that progress, but making sure that you're keeping note of it, and more importantly, that the client is keeping note of it is extremely important.
I love that. Making sure to look over those bright spots, those wins, and be able to
Yeah.
keep them accountable. Keep them accountable.
Yeah, yeah, because you know what, man? People get stuck on this whole perfection thing, right? And oh, I gotta be perfect, or this has to be perfect. Guess what, man? I got news for everybody out there. That perfect shit is an illusion. It's not about being perfect, it's about progression. And if you could progress every single day, it's a win. No matter how small that progression is. If you progress in that day, in that moment, that's a win in my book, man.
Damn. Marcos, you got anything else to ask your Rivera brother here?
No, a long lost cousin over here, I'm sure. If your last name is Rivera in Puerto Rico, you're probably a cousin.
Yeah, somewhere along the line. There's somewhere along that bloodline, there's relation.
Man, I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's obviously always more to go into, but I think that the biggest thing there is, I mean, Joe kind of covered that, where if you're not just putting yourself out there in the universe and understanding that, like, problems of today are something that you can overcome, you're you're likely you're not growing or not trying or testing yourself in ways that could be fruitful. And I think, again, we started this project, Seamus, just with trying to get 52 episodes, and now it's turned into this thing where every single person that comes on here with the 1 hour of time they give us, it's exactly what we needed here at the right time. So I'm more so saying thank you, Joe. Like, you articulated things, in your voice, right, in your unique way, that is going to resonate with that right audience member that we have, because we know every show isn't for everybody, just like we aren't for everybody when it comes to coaching. But I definitely feel like the message is strong and very concise. It's what people need. You don't need all the fluff. You need to focus on some core things. And I don't know, Joe, do you have any last words? I mean, where can people find you? Something else that you feel like is important that you feel like you may have not touched on at this point? All the closing thoughts.
Yeah, so where you can find me is you could go to my website, WithJoeRivera.com. Also, I got a free giveaway I'm going to give on behalf of Marcos and Seamus here. It's going to be a free to my 3-pillar system. So if you text Reforge to 646-495-9867, you'll be able to get those 3 pillars. And also, I mean, I think I'm gonna close out with 2 things that I want everybody to realize, because we were just talking about how it's not about perfection, right? And it's about progression, and also that it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. As long as you fail forward, you learn from that failure, it's a win. Fail stands for first attempt in learning. And just whatever you want to do, don't wait for the perfect time. There's no such thing as the perfect time. Get it started now, because procrastination, that's the grave that opportunity's buried in, man.
Damn. Damn.
Awesome.
Well,
We'll be sure to have that number in the notes if you guys did not catch that, because it's obviously hard. You're probably listening and driving or doing whatever else. So everything that Joe just mentioned is going to be inside of the show notes. That's what we pay Rachel for. And outside of that, I definitely feel like this one, it hit deep. Another tearjerker moment, hearing somebody battle adversity, come through it, and I really appreciate you giving us the time. I know we had some conflicts of schedule for our teams, and I mean, I'm glad this was able to happen today. It leaves me really feeling fired up and just trying to, again, like you said, inspire one person additionally today. Seamus, anything else that you'd like to add?
Guys, when we say things like perk your ears up, I hope you did. I hope you took your notes out, and I hope you took the time to write the notes down, because if you didn't, you're gonna have to rewind all this. I know some of y'all are gonna re-listen to this. Joe's story, man. Thank you for allowing us to go deep. It really was wonderful to see how far you've come, and your story is so unique. But I know that someone else out there has something similar that they've gone through, whether it's through addiction, death, or any of those areas that are just super difficult. But through those trials and tribulations come triumph. And time again, there are so many stories like yours, Joe, and you have your unique story, and people can resonate with that. But again, you don't have to let your failures define you. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Not letting that failure define you, but being able to reinvent yourself, like you were saying. And I really appreciate you being able to share that on this platform. And hopefully, with your business, with your coaching, your mentorship, your everything that you're doing, it keeps growing, it keeps going. And yeah, it would be great to connect again later on and see how things go for you in the next year or so. So, guys, other than that, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and thank you.
Thanks for having me, fellas. I really appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys.